Hey there, it's Joycelyn Wells with Healthy Me, Healthy You, and we're on episode 6, which is baggage of this series. I honestly didn't understand the significance of the use of the analogy of baggage when you talked about things in your life. That's not something that clicked with me until I found myself in some situations of trying to heal, of going back into my life and trying to figure out why I allowed some of the things that happened. Why was I okay with being emotionally and verbally abused? Where did that come from? And the baggage started. The analogy made sense when I realized that I could no longer blame somebody else for the way that I felt. And that just kind of goes in line with the whole series. I'm responsible for me. Last episode was about boundaries. That goes to me. I've got to figure out how to protect myself. So when I started going back in my life from, mid 30s till I was a child, as far as back as I could remember, and just analyzing some of the learned behaviors or conditioned responses that had been placed upon me as a child, how they affected me in my adult life. And then that made sense, the baggage. Like I was literally carrying these negative moments of blah throughout life with me. Many of them I had no control over. So once I made a connection and it made sense in my mind, you could see it. Like you're collecting baggage. You're collecting somebody else's bullshit, grief, pain. Somebody's conditioned you to be a certain way. Somebody has put you in a situation that had nothing to do with you. You had to grab onto that and try to help fix it. Like you have all of these negative or heavy situations that you've gone through in your life, but you never quite resolve them because you've been told to keep it a secret. Don't share it with anybody, or you think it's the right thing to do. That's the baggage, right? So the one thing that I would advise, or when people ask or we have conversations, I'll tell them, how do you want to travel? Do you want to travel heavy or do you want to travel light? Because everything that I talk about and my goal daily is that I'm trying to move forward to be of my purpose. So for me to be able to move forward and find my purpose that God and the universe has designed for me, I've got to travel light. I can't travel with everybody's everything fucking stuck to me. Most of it has nothing to do with me. To be perfectly honest, most of it has nothing to do with me. So we have to be very careful in collecting people's shit because they'll literally drop it off and keep it moving, and then you're left there to process. One of the things that used to happen with a friend of mine, we're not friends anymore. I guess it was a coworker, but she was in a negative relationship with her husband, and at the time I was trying to be a friend. Got a new mole right there. You see that? Anyway, so I was trying to be a friend at the time, and she was in some yucky stuff with her husband, and she would come and she would talk about it and blah, blah, blah. And I would be like, okay, that's terrible. You know, we'd go through it. Next thing you know, they're in love, and I'm mad at him. I'm still I can't believe he treated her like this. And, so she have her argument, come dump that shit on me, and then go home free to set it all up again, right? And I had to make myself realize that I was being dumped on. That was her dumping her baggage, her bullshit on me. And because of the person that I am, just trying to help or understanding anything, I was taking it. And I wanted to make it better for her. And I said prayers for her, and I said prayers for them. And I recommended counseling and all this. She didn't hear any of it because all she needed was to dump her shit on me. So she dumped it on me, and then I was carrying it. Funny thing is, the same situation that she was in, I found myself in later because it was familiar. Oh, this is what healthy relationships look like. That's what I learned from interacting and dealing with her. I thought that was normal because they kept going back together and she was in love with him. So that baggage. So as I'm living, I'm collecting all of this baggage, and bullshit. Well, when I hit about 30 something early, I tried to figure out why I was, and then had to figure out how to unpack the baggage. What's regular? What's normal? What's healthy? What's my healthy me? And what's the healthy you? How should we interact with each other so that I'm not weighed down or debilitated by the bullshit that you bring to me or by the shit that comes in, right? So we have to figure out how to travel light. We also have to discern when something has nothing to do with us. And you have to believe people want to give it to you. And they'll tell you they want you to help. And you feel like you wanted to help them. So I'm going to give you my 3 things when it comes to helping. The first thing, if the person comes to you with a problem, listen to them the first time. Listen, it's no problem, right? You listen. You're not necessarily offering any advice. They haven't asked. They didn't ask you for anything. All you're doing is listening. So until they ask you specifically something, you just like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And you want to know if they're safe. But the details and getting involved, you keep it. If they're giving it, let them give it as much as you can take. That's the first thing. The second thing, if they come back to you with the same problem, the same situation, and you've already listened to it once, undoubtedly you've thought about it, because that's how we do. We process. You've thought about it. When they come back the second time, you may have some resources available to them. You know, it's a women's shelter, it's a homeless shelter, there's a debt management, there's whatever the issue is, but it's not for you to fix it. It's to hand off, right? It's a handoff. They come back, you hand it off. You're not receiving it because you can't fix it. And unless they specifically ask you for something, you can't give it. That's when you collect your baggage, right? More baggage. So you send them off, and it could be a book to read or whatever. That's number 2. Third time they come back, and they're talking about it again, and you shut that shit down early. Hey, what did you find out at that shelter? Did you read that book I told you about? You start asking those questions about the resources that you offered last time. More times than not, they're going to say, oh, I didn't have time, or I didn't this. And you're going to be like, oh, well, I'm done. I don't have anything else to offer, because you already offered what you had on number 2, right? So you have to kind of manage the flow of information as it's coming to you to keep yourself safe. You don't get caught up in somebody's bullshit with their husband, that the husband's coming after you, or you're worried about you. You'd send them to somebody who can help them. You're not going to get caught up financially in somebody who's fucking up money or can't figure out how to live because they're whatever it is they're doing. That's not your issue. So we have to literally make sure we're not collecting this baggage. When you're dealing with a man or a woman and they've got baby mama, kids, mama issues, and this shit, shut that shit down, because none of that's yours. But being a woman, for me, I had a tendency to want to show that I'm the ideal woman, so I can deal with all that shit. Not understanding that my dealing with all that shit is me collecting baggage from all of these places that have nothing to do with me. How somebody treats their kids, or how somebody treats their spouse, or what they're talking about at work, and this and this. None of that has anything to do with me. And if I'm going to be light on my travels, that means my bags have to be damn near empty. I'm gonna have my own bullshit. But to collect from other people around me, it's not my issue. Try to make the best decisions you can to keep yourself safe and the people around you safe, and not get involved in other people's bullshit. One step closer to healthy me, healthy you. Don't collect any baggage. That's not true. Don't collect much baggage. See you next time.